Yeah, I think children really need their parents,
Yeah.
and there's just too many distractions out there sometimes that um, children just get, they don't get the love they need,
Yeah.
basically. They're
Yeah.
neglected.
Mm.
Um,
Imagine in this modern world, you know what I mean? Like, you cannot, to me, like, the main thing, you know, when you're with your kids, you know, like kids, for love, like, for kids, right, love is time, essentially, if you see what I mean. Like, money is time for them, if you see what I mean. Like, that's what they value. They value your presence, your participation in whatever games they might be playing or whatever, you know, whatever they might be doing or interested in. Like, even sometimes with my daughter, sometimes she wants to play a game, you know, like every now and again she'll call me and she's like, oh, can you play a game with me, daddy, or you can do this. I'm like, fine, let's, you know, what do you want to do, let's do it.
mm,
um like, you have to, like, that's, kids appreciate you putting in the effort. Kids realize, kids can tell how much kind of effort you're putting into, how much you kind of love them, if you see what I mean. And um, you know, the more you do for your kids, and the more you educate them, and the more you give, you know, help them to have, you know, take them places and do things, and play games with them, and do all these various different things to give them memories and to give them a good life. And I think when, as they get older, they start to fully understand that and appreciate that, like, all the, you know, all the effort that you put in to ensure
because they see it, they remember it.
yeah, that they had a
Remember,
good upbringing, you know.
it's karma in it. What you put in,
What
whatever, you know,
is what
comes back.
it comes back, you know.
If you hit them all the time,
Mm.
they'll come back, grow up, and they hit you back, basically. And some people are lucky. They got a lot of money,
Yeah,
and that gives them a lot of time to be at home,
yeah,
to give a lot of time to their children.
yeah.
And there's other parents like me. When I was trying to be a parent, I was trying my best I could, but I had to go to work and give up a lot of my time for my work, rather than spending with my children, which I really wanted to do with my heart. You see what I mean? So I think, like, in this matrix or system we're living in, a lot of people have to give up their time. I mean, I didn't really hardly see my mum when I was growing up. You know, I was at school or I was asleep. I feel like that's the case for everyone. You know, I mean, I can remember my childhood, but we're talking about, we're not talking about childhood. We're talking about sex in this episode. So,
Yeah,
um, I mean, I didn't really have much sex education when I was at school. That's for sure.
yeah. Likewise, I must say I didn't really have much either, and I think, especially like, as like, even like I said earlier, like, you know, I started having sexual relationships with, you know, with females at a young age, you know.
Mm.
And I know other boys my age that were doing the same thing. They were having, and obviously, you know, it was all, you know, all consensual, you know, like, especially for me, like, most of the girls that I was ever with were always older than me, and they were the ones that, that would, you know, instigate and want, you know, kind of wanted it, you know. And I know, like I said, I know a lot of boys my same age are doing the same thing. So I think they could have been a lot more sexual education in school. But I must say, because of how I grew up, yeah, like from a young age, I used to be chilling with the older guys.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So a lot of the older guys used to kind of give me game to and kind of educate me too, in a certain way. Like, you know, obviously being older, and, you know, they've had relationships and experiences and able to, you know, kind of tell me, like, you've got to be careful. You know, you've got to be careful. Obviously, you've got to make sure you use protection, because obviously, you know, you got you know, things out here that you could catch. You know, people got diseases and shit. And not only that, but if you don't want children at a young age, if you don't want to be a young teenage father, you know, you either got to wear protection, or you got to be able to, you know, ensure that if you are going to have, you know, unprotected sex with someone that you know, someone that you trust, that, you know, that you be careful if you don't want to have kids. You know, you do what's required in order to not, you know, in order to, you know, not get her pregnant. You know, you're just cautious. So yeah, like, thankfully I did have older guys around me, kind of, you know, giving me a bit of game from a young age. Like, that's the, you know.
It's always
I remember
best.
even being young and the older guys around me asking me, like, have you already started having relationships like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, saying, you know, like, you know, You know how it is, you know, when you're around older guys, like, oh, when I was young, like, you know, I
Well,
was really doing this, like, you know.
it really is best
And
to
then,
listen to
you know,
people. You know, it's always best to you know, to respect all people, really.
yeah, yeah,
And you got to remember they're a lot more experienced than you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not necessarily all people are experienced in. You know, they might have been staying in all the time. Do you know what I mean? And not
yeah,
experienced anything.
mm,
So only because you're 80 doesn't mean you're wise.
yeah, true, yeah, yeah,
If you see what I mean,
mm,
or experienced. But most all people are quite experienced, and the problem is I think a lot of young people don't listen to them anymore, and that's another problem in the world.
in society, yeah,
They should listen to all people because, well,
yeah,
they're more experienced about life. Not necessarily right,
yeah, true, yeah,
but definitely more experienced. It's like me, as I keep saying, I'm 58, and when I'm 68, whatever, I want to be more experienced
yeah,
than I am today, that's for sure.
mm,
I don't think I'm going to have sex again though, in my life. I might do though, you see, but you never know that you luck. But no, I mean, most people do enjoy sex, and even me, personally, I've always loved sex. I love women, I think they're very sexy.
women are just naturally beautiful though, you know, and I think most men, most straight heterosexual men like ourselves, you know, like even me, I'm married, but of course, naturally, you might see someone, and the same thing goes for women. Like just because you're in a relationship or just because you might be married or whatever, doesn't mean that you might not ever see another person again in your life that you might not find attractive. People might see other people who they think attractive. That doesn't mean that you're gonna ever try to talk to that person or ever try to pursue anything with that person whatsoever. But the reality of life is that you'll see people and you'll be able to they'll either be attractive to you or not, if you see what I mean. That's just the reality of life for everyone, if you see what I mean, you know. Whether you're married in a relationship or whatever, that's, you know, that just happens. So yeah, no, it's just about being honest about these things in life too, you know, like, you know, it's, you know, sometimes people, I think people have unrealistic expectations and think that just because the person might be married or whatever the case may be, that person, you know, they forget people are human beings, if you see what I mean. People have desires, if you see what I mean, natural desires. That's why you see sometimes in relationships where there's no more sexual, say people are in a long-term relationship and they've always had a good sex life, and then all of a sudden for a whole year or 2 years goes by and they have almost like a non-existent sex life.
No, it's wacky.
You get people that end up cheating and things like that because people have been so used to having their needs fulfilled within that relationship, and then a long period people might wait for certain time, you know, people might try to endure it and try to hope that things get better and better, and then you know, a lot of time goes by and it doesn't, and then people end up getting frustrated, you know, whether it be the woman or the man or both. And then people end up cheating. So it's like, I think people need to be like, even in relationships, I advise people, like, even when they're angry with you know, like if you're married to someone in your relationship with someone, even if you guys might be angry at each other or something might have happened between each other or whatever, as long as you guys still love each other and the love is still there, don't withhold sex from, like, you know, from your wife, or women don't withhold sex from your husband, like, you know, just because, you know, you might have had an argument during the day or a little something might have happened or whatever, that, you know, just, you know, don't ever use sex. I think using sex as a weapon in a relationship is something that a lot of people do, and it's just it's not a good idea. Like, you know, it's, you know, just because you might have had an argument during the day doesn't mean that you can't, you know, kiss and make up later on in the evening, if you see what I mean. You know, and that, you know, kids are asleep and you've got time for yourselves. You know, I think that sometimes that happens. Sometimes in particular. You know, I didn't want to make it all about the ladies, because I know some men probably do it too. But sometimes I know women sometimes do that in relationships. Like, I know I've had a few friends that have spoken to me about this in the past, where their wives or their long-term girlfriends, they almost no longer have like any kind of, you know, things were great for a long time, but now all of a sudden they have, you know, it's once and, you know, few between, you know, as I would say, you know. And people end, like I said, you know, sometimes people don't always communicate as well. their issues, if you see what I mean. People don't always talk about it, they just let the frustration build up and build up and build up and expect the other person to know what they want and not communicate it, if you see what I mean. And then things get to a boiling point and either party just end up breaking and then one ends up cheating or whatever, or both of them cheat, and then it brings the end to usually brings the end of the relationship, doesn't it?
Because it does. Well, so I mean, that's partly, I feel like, one of the biggest reasons why me and my ex ended up sort of breaking up.
Yeah.
I was working many hours for one, and next minute, you know, another thing, she was hard of hearing. So how can you communicate when you're sleeping, working most of the time?
Yeah.
Doing other things, and then when you are home with your wife, having dinner and things, sometimes occasionally,
yeah,
we're not really talking because she can't hear me anyway, you know. Or
yeah.
It's complicated. And I think, like I say, we've all got different sex lives. You know.
Yeah.
So some people not even had sex. You
Yeah.
know? And at least I feel like I'm glad that I've had sex, and I can remember it. If you see what I mean, and that kind of something to smile about in life in a funny way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah, I feel like life is all about educating. A lot of people out there are not very clever.
Yeah.
And they're not really clever with how to talk to people, so they think they're it and they're a bit rude and all this kind of stuff and all kinds of stuff, you know. And there's a lot of people that don't know how to behave properly.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't kind of blame it onto them. It's all to do, they're not being brought up properly, they're not being loved as a child, something happened to them at school, you know, or they've been abused, and so on. So it's kind of a wicked world we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And does porn on the internet help, or does it not?
I'll tell you one thing, right? If porn, if it is proven in any way, shape or form that porn stops a lot of people out there from doing things to other people because they've got access, you know, to self-satisfaction, then I would say that is a pro of porn, if you see what I mean, because there might be some men out there, say for example, not people like me and you, if you see what I mean, but I'm literally talking about people who, you know, people who have thoughts of doing bad things to people because they might not be getting as, you know, they might not have much as of a sex life or whatever, they might become really sexually frustrated and think of doing something awful to someone.
It cures them.
If they're able to have access to these things and it helps them to relieve themselves naturally and it stops them from doing anything wrong to any human being because they're able to self-satisfy themselves, then I think that is a pro, that is a positive of porn. But like we said, everything in life has pros and cons, you know, it's everything has good and bad sides, you know. So some couples even indulge in porn, if you see what I mean. You know, I've never been with a woman like that personally. I've never, I've had a lot of, I've been in a lot of relationships and had a lot of, partners in my time.
Not as many as me.
But
not as many as me because I'm a bit older than you, I think.
Yeah.
I've had more years, you see, sort of to play about with. And
but yeah, you know.
So I've not had sex for 7 years now. But I can still remember what it's like.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like it was yesterday in a funny way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just would I like it again in the future? Of course I would.
If you meet the right woman.
Yeah, but what do I feel about going to the sort of question about a girl and a boy walking through a field? If they saw two elephants mating, it's not a crime, is it?
No.
But when there's two people having sex, it's a different matter.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Have we been brainwashed? Because once upon a time we didn't have clothes, right? And somebody's ordered us to wear clothes by law. We've been slowly brought up this way to this is the law, this is the way everything is. Then when somebody is having sex, whoa, you know, that's a crime, you know. And I just sort of question whether it is wrong to two people having fun in the field,
Yeah.
and say as a school bus of children pass slowly and they see it.
Yeah.
Will they find it disgraceful, or will the teachers find it disgraceful, or will the adults on the bus? You know
Probably
what I mean?
more so, probably
That's
the
what I'm
adults,
asking.
depending on the age of the children. If they're very young children,
I think the adults.
if they're
get
very
more
young,
I think the adults complain. I think the adults think, oh
Yeah.
look, there's two people. Let's complain. Let's call the police. You know, yeah. It's not the children that get upset. It's more
because the children are kind of oblivious to
I feel the adults more get upset and act like Karens and Darrens about the situation, if you see what I mean. And complain. I don't think it's such, you know, children just, you know, they're not worried about it, I don't think, do you know what I mean? Depending on what age they are, obviously. If they're 13, they might go, whoa, some boobies, or,
Yeah.
you know. It depends on the child, you know, some children just wouldn't be interested, or wouldn't matter to them, do you know what I mean? It just depends on each individual's sort of opinion or response on that matter, I think, or, you know, I just think should we sort of like, it's like, for instance, cannabis, because they make it illegal, lots of people get locked up for it. Yeah. Well, if they didn't make it illegal, because it don't do any harm, for goodness sake, it doesn't make you violent, does it?
No.
So on, or aggressive and
No.
beat people up.
No.
I feel like that cannabis does the opposite.
Yeah.
But they kind of make it a crime and criminalise it and say no.
Yes.
Yeah. When it makes people happy and peaceful. And,
Yeah. Relaxed.
yeah. They don't want that. They want you to go to work, I think. But you know, they ban the drug, so they sort of like it becomes a criminal offence, and everyone gets fined for it, and they lose their jobs and so on. You know, and it creates a big mess in a funny way. And it's the same as sex. You know, there's no crime about it really, apart from if you do it without someone's consent, if you sort of.
Of course, yeah.
Or
and I think
you're doing harm to anyone.
I think all it is, right, mate, is that we have decided throughout, well, over the last, you know what I mean, over the last, okay, we have evolved, let's put it like this, we have evolved to a point in human history today where we want to have a quote unquote, these people want to have a quote unquote civil society.
Yeah.
Where things such as sex and these various different things are kept within the confines of personal space, essentially, within the home, within your, within your, in your hotel room, in your home, away from. It's supposed to be. It's something that's supposed to be conducted in private. If you get what I'm saying, because obviously we have deemed, we've come up with all these rules and regulations and laws in society. One of them is obviously, if anyone is ever nude or anything like this, or is caught having sexual intercourse in public or whatever the case may be, they will get a fine, or they will get some kind of reprimand, whether that be probation or jail time or a fine, if you see what I mean, because they've implemented a law that obviously states,
You know what I mean? If I was going through this, getting my shopping, getting my milk and bread and all that, and then I saw the cashier having sex with someone, I wouldn't want it. You know, I wouldn't. I'd feel a bit quite offended by it. A bit, you know, that I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know.
And let's be honest, you don't want to walk in a supermarket and see someone naked either, really, do you?
No.
Imagine walking in a supermarket tomorrow and seeing some tall, fat, hairy bugger with, completely nude, just walking around. You know what I mean? The young children in the shop. It's just,
I think you got to do it and hide away.
You have to draw a line in society, and I think.
I think it's respectful to hide away. Let's put it that way.
Correct. It's these type of things are supposed to be private too, between a man and a woman anyway. If you see what I mean, like it's not really supposed to be for public consumption. Like it is today so much.
Then you think it's a funny world in a funny way that you go out, right, and then I don't think they're strict, but you know, we're strict with ourselves. When we go out, we dress ourselves and hide ourselves, and we're discreet about, you know, sort of hiding our private parts and that. But then when we go indoors, a lot of people are sort of going on the internet today looking at porn and trying to look for naked bodies in a funny way, if you see what I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It's quite a strange world we're living in today. Like I say, porn and the internet is quite new.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I've been on the internet for 15 years, yeah, and I Google and I have looked in porn in the past, whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of entertains me, I must admit, you know, certain things. But as I'm growing older, I tend to sort of giving it up.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, when I was a young teenager too, I did watch porn too as a young teenager, if you see what I mean. And probably in my early 20s too, you know, occasionally, if you see what I mean. But I was going to say, pretty like you just said as well, like over the last however many years, I've pretty much, like, I choose not to really indulge in porn, if you see what I mean. Like,
I used to be faithful to one woman, you know, and when I got married, I fell in love with her. I wasn't married, so in love with the other girls previous before that. I fell in love with my ex-wife, and I gave up everything for her. I didn't look at porn.
Yeah.
And then, sort of 13 years, you know, she met somebody else, and I was out, and it hurt me big time.
Yeah.
With anyone.
Yeah.
And then, after a while, you know, I started looking for other girls, I suppose, again.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had 3 dates since then on the internet, whatever.
Yeah.
What do I feel about porn? I think we've all got our own personal views about it, our own insight or experiences or understanding of it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's any harm in it, personally, okay? You know, I don't think it's, you know, doing anything dangerous to anyone. Apart from, I don't like, sometimes, I mean, I have looked at sex in the past, whatever, sex films, and I do not like seeing it when someone's taking advantage of anyone or anything like that, do you know what I mean, or hurting anyone. I don't like.
But that's the problem. That's what I don't like. That's the problem though with these porn websites. I mean, with porn, I think, is that there are categories of porn on these websites.
Yeah.
That have pornography, which is quite depraved, quite graphic, quite depraved, quite almost sick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's not something that I've ever indulged in.
It goes too far.
I must say I have indulged in porn, like I said, you know, on and off in my late teenage years, and maybe occasionally in my early 20s. And even when I did, I only ever watched normal porn. I guess what you would call normal porn is just like, you know, man and woman having, you know, just, you know, intercourse is essentially not, you know, any of that other shit that's never been my cup of tea, if you see what I mean. But the reality is that you know it exists, you know it is there, if you see what I mean, you know. So yeah, I think it's like I've been talking about earlier. Everything has its pros and its cons, you know. It can serve a purpose, you know, in lots of ways in society, and it also can. There are some men out there that have, you know, really been, and women too, I'm sure. But a lot of the cases that I've heard about, you know, in recent history, have been a lot of men saying that they were heavily addicted to porn, that they watched porn every single day, like, you know, a few times a day. They were, you know, literally, you know, it's kind of taken over their lives. You know, they were getting so, just, you know, just overwhelmed by their own sexual appetite, if you see what I mean. You know, they just found it hard to focus on anything else. They were just literally, that's all they were focused on is, you know, just, you know, enjoying, you know, all the, you know, self-satisfaction all the time, if you see what I mean. And that's not healthy, you know, that's not healthy. That's then going from being someone who, you know, is, you know, using something, you know, healthily, if you see what I mean, to someone using it unhealthily, if you see what I mean.
I mean, even the sex in toys have evolved.
Yeah.
They've invented new gadgets probably today, like a rampant super rabbit or something, or, you know, because I know there's a rampant rabbit, because one of my ex-girlfriends got one or something, alright, but there's lots of vibrators with all different kinds of names out there, And what's it done, really? You know, it's sort of like, it's...
Kind of.
So women buy a plastic toy and they don't really need a man anymore, do you know what I mean? Look, I got this.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I got this now. I don't need a man.
In some aspects, toys and stuff have ruined the natural sexual relationship between a man and a woman.
Spoil it, isn't it?
If you see what I mean.
It's like we're spoiled.
It's because like some women, a woman could use a vibrator, and use a vibrator and have an orgasm within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. But when she's having sex, it might take her 20, 25 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, before she actually gets to that point of really, having a really, really good, orgasm. If you see what I mean, So.
You can buy them on Amazon or eBay or whatever, and then when a woman orders her toy and it comes a couple of days later or whatever, it gives them so much satisfaction that they think, wow, this is even better than the man.
Yeah.
That's the thing, what's it doing to our world? It's changing it, isn't it?
It's changing the dynamic of the world. But I think the thing is that the good thing about it though is that I think men and women will always naturally want each other. So no matter what they introduce, no matter what they bring into the world for people out there who want to indulge in their various different forms of self-satisfaction in the bedroom, I think the thing is though is that there's something between a man and a woman that naturally there's
there's nothing better than two bodies rubbing together, is there?
Exactly. The woman wants a real deal and the man wants a real deal. If you get what I'm saying, there's that thing of having the natural, organic, real deal, not something that's fake or something you've got to do yourself, or it's not quite the same, is it? It's a big difference, So.
It's about whispering in their ears, that's quite sexual, kissing them on the necks. It's being experienced with sex in a kind of way, knowing what you're doing.
Of course, yeah.
That makes it a bit better, Like when I didn't really have a clue, I was a bit afraid, It was sort of like, I can remember having sex for the first time, and I wasn't very good at it. Let's put it that way, I was... not very professional at all. And it just took me a number of years to get a bit better at it, more professional. And I think it's another thing that you could always learn. Whatever, but you could look at it as a game, and I don't know.
But going back to the whole porn thing as well too, like even growing up, I remember there's a lot of people that learn things from porn. If you see what I mean, like certain positions and things that a lot of positions and things that couples will participate in today in their bedroom. Well, they'll reenact those things sometimes, and not only that, but I think the whole growing up, it's once you really understand, especially as a man, you understand your woman's body, obviously a woman can have, like we talked about very briefly before, a woman can have 2 different types of orgasms. A woman can have a clitoral orgasm, where obviously, you're stimulating her clitoris long enough, in the right way, she has an orgasm. And also you can hit that G-spot, if you're having intercourse, you can hit that once you hit that G-spot, long enough in the right way, she will have an orgasm, if you see what I mean. So it's just it's also learning and understanding and obviously when you're first, like you said, when you're young and you first start having sex, you might not be knowledgeable about all these different things and all the different things that you can do, but as you get older and the more you experience and the more you learn and the more different partners you have and the different experiences you have, the more, like you said, educated you become. Essentially, you do become more educated and you kind of know.
I don't think your mother's going to teach you about your clitoris, is she? You know what I mean?
Well,
it's not a thing.
But your mother, that's not a mother's job at all whatsoever.